how to apply basic adjustments to an image in Photoshop 221 as well as 220, 219, etc. Well, first thing to do, I've just got an image here, and what I can do, I want to colour it, or I want to turn it into a black and white image. The way to do that is to use adjustments. Of course, you could use various plug-in effects. You can go to the filters menu and you can use various filters to do that. But you can also use adjustments. So what you can do, go to image menu and adjustments, and there's a number of them. Brightness, there's levels, curves, exposure, vibrance, and so on and so on. Obviously, I can go through all of those, but I'm just going to go with one just to show you an example. So this one, black and white. Guess what it does? Turns the image into black and white. Well, actually, more grayscale. Maybe it could be called a grayscale adjustment. What do you get with this? Well, you get this panel, and you've got a variety of things. And you can see what the effect is straight away. You've got this black and white applied to this, or grayscale. You've got presets. So you can go for blue filter, and you can see what happens. These presets will just modify that. Nothing more, nothing less. There's nothing sort of hidden away. All these presets are exactly the same as the settings here. You can just tweak those settings, and you can see you can create a variety of different black and whites. Some work better with images than others. And also you've got other options here like tint as well. So you can actually tint it from here. Maybe change to there, and you can see the end result. And also you can modify various things, saturation, and hue down here. Now, this is a destructive effect. So if you apply it, and I'm just going to quickly apply this effect now, and that's it. It's done. However, you can always undo. But the thing is, in Photoshop, say you go and do something else and you do another task, maybe apply some brush strokes, and you sort of apply some brush, and that's it. You've lost the ability, unless you again go undo, but you've lost this brush stroke. So if you're quite happy with that brush stroke, it's really quite annoying that you can't use it again. So just going to undo that, and I'm just going to delete that. Now, sadly, there is no redo adjustment feature. Be nice, but what you can do, again, go to image and adjustments, and again, use, say, black and white. Again, I'm choosing black and white, but of course you could use any of the other adjustments. Just go with one of the filters there, green filter, or there, and click OK. So you've got your effect. What you can do, you can also go to edit menu, and there's a great option for fading it. So you might, this is one sort of workaround in terms of sort of reducing it down. So if you can't do it within the actual tool itself, so it can do it via this edit and fade black and white. It would say fade color balance if it was color balance. So you've got options here. So fade, and you can change your opacity. So you can see you can create just a very, very subtle now. If you put it down to 0, you end up exactly as it was, totally untouched. If you put it to 100%, then you get the black and white effect. Put it to 50, and you can see it's sort of a very faded, very grey sort of look there. Now I'm just going to put it to 100%, because what you can also do, you've also got the option for mode, and you can go for dissolve. Now at this point you can't see any difference there, but if you put it say 50%, you get this sort of grain effect. Personally, I very rarely use dissolve, but I'm certain people have some uses for it. Darken, multiply, and so on. You can see you can create a whole variety of different ones just by changing the mode. Lighten, you get a really nice effect there where you've got that sort of very intense, bright, obviously 20 degrees centigrade. Which is quite odd. You think it should be like 70 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that, 68. Screen, there's another option there, and so on and so on. So you can difference, and you can see you can create some maybe not such a great idea. Now, what you can also do, you don't have to apply it to the entire image. So you've got that effect, but you can control it via, say, go over here to the rectangular marquee tool or elliptical, or just use any of the other selection tools as well. So I'm just going to go with rectangular. So I'm just going to go there, and I'm just going to select part of the image. You can select a part of that image. You can select anywhere. So you can go, say, like a very thin strip there, or maybe the centre, or maybe you just go around the bit where, like, there's obviously the bus there. Now this is obviously Tottenham Court Road in London, and there's a bus there, a red bus. And what I'm going to do, just go to image, adjustments, and then go down to black and white. And what happens, you'll see the bus, instead of being red bus, goes into a grey bus. Obviously it's got some of the rest of the image there is also turned grey as well, and click OK. So you can do that, and you can do it again somewhere else. Maybe apply again image. Now there's no, unfortunately, apply again feature. You have to go to black and white again. So image menu, adjustments, and then black and white. And again, you could select a different settings. You could go through this, and again, you could use, if you want, go to edit and fade black and white. Use maybe some of the blending modes. So there's a whole variety of different things you can just do from this. But again, the thing is with image menu and adjustments, which you can of course apply again. You can always go to image adjustments and black and white again, and just apply it again. So you can see you can create some very interesting black and whites just by applying it 2 or 3 or 4 times and using different blending modes and those sort of things. So click OK. But it's still, at the end of the day, a destructive effect. You may want that, perfectly reasonable, nothing wrong with that, because what you can do, of course, you can then go and apply brush strokes, maybe smudge the design, sort of apply various effects if you want to do that. However, there's an option you can apply layers. Now I'm just going to quickly go all the way back to this, and I'm just going to go back to the original image, and there. So you've got that, but you've got adjustment layers. Adjustment layers, well, they're exactly the same as normal layers. What are layers? Well, here are layers. It's a panel. You can go up to Window and Layers. Now, if I did that, I just removed it, of course. So there's the layers. Well, you can add another layer. You could add, obviously, duplicate the current layer. So what you do, layer menu and duplicate layer, and that just duplicates the image. So you've got the image there, and then you can see resize it, move that around. You see the effect there. But you can do exactly the same with adjustments. Now, obviously, you could also create layers that have got maybe a solid colour throughout, that sort of thing, or a vector layer, custom shapes. So now what you can do, go to Layer menu and New Adjustment Layer. And I'm going to go for black and white again, but I could use any of the other ones, like curves, vibrance, hue and saturation, all of them perfectly reasonable. So I think just black and white just really stands out. So I just want to show you black and white. So you've got black and white, and you can see you can set the colour of the layer. You've also got blending mode, so you can go for that straight away. Though normally I just go for normal initially. So click OK. You can see then you've got your layer there. It's just applied on top of the existing layer. And the great thing about layers is that you can remove them. You can always go down here and just delete them. Also, you can click there. There's a little, you can see that. You just turn that off. So it's removed straight away. So it goes back to colour again. But you can always put it back on again. Do all the sort of things you can do with layers to a degree. There is a slight variation on that. You can't resize it. So if you go to edit and try to transform it, you can't do that. But there is a workaround for that, and I'm going to show you that in a few seconds. So you've got this there. And what you can do, you can double click on that little just option there. Double click just there on the layers, and you can see brings up the properties, and you can do exactly the same as before. What you can do, you can modify change the colours there. You can go for green filter, or just change all these settings, and you can tweak the colours like that. But what you can also do, of course, I'm just going to remove that, and I can also go to blending modes. Now I don't have to go over to edit and there. What I can do now is I've got here, because it's a layer, just like any other layer. Every layer can have a blending mode. So you can just go through this and you can quickly run through them, and you can see what happens. Some work better than others, so you can go for lighten again. You can see again that obviously 20 degrees centigrade. Again, go through, and it's a great way of experimenting with your, so you can say vivid light, or divide, and so on. Or you can go back just to normal. And also you can change your opacity. And you can also change fill, which does much the same as the opacity. Right, next thing to do, what you can do, and I'm just going to quickly go back to right to the start, because now I've got this document. What I can do, because I want to transform the layer, what you can do, you can go to select menu and then go all, select all like that, and then you can apply the effect. So layer menu and go down to New Adjustment Layer. And again, I'm going to use black and white. I don't have to, I could use any of the other ones as well. I mean, obviously some are slightly less interesting, like invert, but I'm just going to go with black and white. And you can see straight away, you've got that click there, and you've got your layer exactly small. But now you'll notice you've got this bounding, show transform controls. You've got this nice, so you can scale your layer. It's still exactly the same as before. It's got a layer that's on top of your image, existing image. So what you can do, and now the underlying image is totally untouched. So it's not changed in any way. You can now just resize it. So you can move it around. So I've just resized it. You can also rotate it and press return. And you can see, you can still move it around. So you can still see your layer there. Also what you can do, you've got edit and transform, and you can also use like warp or perspective or distort. And you can distort, and you can create all kinds of different designs that way, or maybe like say edit, transform and warp. And you're just warping the layer, warping the actual black and white effect. So you can see, you can create a nice effect there where that's all just black and white. All the rest is still left as colour as before. But also what you do, I'm just going to go back again to that without anything. Just quickly select here, select again. So I'm just select part of the image, layer menu, new adjustment layer, and go to black and white again, just down there. So I've got black and white, click OK. Can move that around, and it's a layer. So what you can do, you can duplicate that layer. So layer menu and duplicate layer. Click OK, and you can see then you've got two black and white. And what you can do, you can move that around, you can position it in a different position. So I can resize it. So if I want that over the, say like the bus, press return. So you've got two layers. You've got one layer here, which you can select and reposition, resize, rotate. So again, I can just go there. And I've also got the one over here as well, and I can move that around as well. So there's a whole load of things you can do with these wonderful adjustment layers. And you, of course, can add on top. So you can add that one on top of that one. You can see it's just over top. And then you can, of course, go double click on there, and you can change different settings. So again, bring up the properties. You can modify that part of the image. There we go there. Obviously, I'm just randomly changing the settings there. And also, of course, you can use different blending modes. So you can just go for darken for that one as well. So there's a variety of different combinations you can do with these adjustments. And again, adjustments there, move it around, and you can also apply effects and do much more. Also, if you're just want to go over here, you can select, you can see you've got the actual properties there. That's the properties one. So you can change the black and white. But what you can also do, you can change this. Just select it. Just select that area. You can see it's now selected. You've got this little box around it. Very, very thin white box around that mask. And it's layer mask thumbnail. And you can modify that. So go to any of the tools. I'm just going to maybe go to the brushes. So you've got brush tool. And you can add brushes to it. And if you go for, say, black, and you notice the black, it's all around a bit where there's a colour. So if you say you want to colour all the way through that, just go there. You can actually apply the colour through there. And you can see what happens. You can see it there. You get this black line through your adjustment layer. And you can see now you've got this nice colour all the way through it. The rest of the side, still black and white, still black and white below. But you can just change this in many, many different ways. So if you don't want to do any more work with it, of course, what you can do, simply go back and just select that. So you're just working with the layer. And again, you can move it around and you can see the effect there. So I'm just going to delete that now. So with that, I'm going to show you the other adjustments as well just before I finish. So again, simply to add a layer, just go to Layer menu, New Adjustment Layer, and this time I'm going to go with Hue and Saturation. Hue and Saturation, click OK, and you can then see you can make the whole image green, and you can say maybe I'm going to go for it very extreme so you can see it. So obviously make a very extreme saturation. Not particularly pleasant, but that's there. So you've got that design there. But what you can do, again, you can add additional on top of that. Now the order matters. So if you go to here and go to a layer menu, and I'm going to go for new adjustment layer again. And this time I'm going to go for threshold. Just go for threshold. Click OK. And you can see the end result there. You can make that sort of black and white. You can change the threshold. You can set the values up. Threshold, obviously, fairly to the max, makes it completely black, near enough. Just a little bit coming through there. Or you can go the other way, so you can get that end result there. But what you can do is just a layer. So simply, I'm going to move that out of the way so you can see the design. You can just move that down. You can move them around. Just simply select, click on it, and drag. Just drag it down, and you can move it just below. And you can see it does change, even though the effect ostensibly is exactly the same. The adjustment is exactly the same. Move it up again. And also what you can do, you can go to layer menu, new adjustment layer, and I'm just going to go for, let's go for, I want something to colour it. So maybe photo there. And you can just obviously see you can apply that, but of course it's black and white, not going to have any effect whatsoever. But of course if you move it around, move that down to there, you can see the effect there, or you can move it above. So you can move them around, or you can deselect it and see a whole load of different changes depending on the position of where it is and how it reacts below to the other design. So put that on again. What you can also do, of course, with threshold, you can also still, exactly as before, use darken, multiply, darker colour, lighter colour. So combinations of multiple adjustments. Obviously, just a bit of trial and error sometimes with these things. You might not think, you know what, this is what exactly is you're going to result in. You can just run through it. And of course, what you can do, many of the adjustment layers have got presets. Not all. Threshold doesn't have presets. Photo filter doesn't, but hue and saturation does. What do presets do? Well, it means you can save the settings. So you don't have to remember later, oh, we think setting 5, 6 and 10 or 50 or whatever. You don't have to remember all those things. What you can do, just go over here and just double click on there to bring up the properties. And then you'll see preset. You've got a whole load of presets there, but you can add your own. Very useful, again, for future use. So just go down to right side menu. There's a little menu here. Always when you see these lines, these like dash there, that's a menu. So you can just go down to save hue, saturation, preset. So all these settings here, the hue, 19 plus 19 will be saved, plus 93 for the saturation, etc. So save hue, saturation. Now comes up with this setting, save setting in, and it will enable you to save it to a particular folder. And you can give it a name. So I'm just going to go for Hue 1, very original. So Hue 1, and it's a AHU file, instantaneously rememberable. And what you can do is you can also add some tags to it. So I'm just going to go for yellow, something like that. And it's going to be added to the hue and saturation folder. So then you can just click save. Once you've done that, you can see it will appear in the list, and there's a little dividing line. That's obviously your set of various presets. Once you've done that, now the reason I did that is because you may want to recreate it at some later point. Now, of course, threshold and these fortunately do not have presets. So if you double click, like I say again, you've got the density there, you've got filter. You just have to remember, unfortunately, warming filter, and you can set the density. Sadly, there is no way. The only way around this is to actually create it at the time when you've actually created the adjustments. And you could go for actions. Now, actions are very useful for recording things. Unfortunately, not so useful once you've got something. That's the thing. So if you go to window, you can see actions. You've got actions there, and you can record a variety of actions. But of course, at this point, you've done all the work. And now, of course, you think, oh, that's really good. I really like that. Well, unfortunately, you can't record an action backdating it. It'd be nice if you could, but that option is not available. But what you can do is you can obviously set up a preset for this one, the hue and saturation, and then just write down the figures for, and there's only obviously one, so one setting, and also likewise with the threshold. So again, double click on there and you can see it's 65. So you can just write that down, and then what you can do, you can record an action. I'll do tutorials, I have done tutorials about actions and how to create them. Simply go over here and create a new action, and the new action would have just create this adjustment layer, create this adjustment layer, and create this adjustment layer. And then you've got those, and you can just apply it then to obviously any image at any time. So it's super useful. So that's presets for adjustment layers. So that's it. I mean, there's a few more things you can do, but there's a lot more things you can do. Obviously, with Photoshop, there's thousands of different features, but this is just a basic run through of adjustment layers, as well as, of course, the basic adjustments. And of course, what you can do, once you've got your layers, you can always just flatten them. If you want to, just go to layer menu and flatten the image. And so everything will be all flattened. So flatten image, so you've got it now frozen. That's it, it's all part of the image. And of course, what you can do then, of course, you can still go back to image menu, adjustments, and just use the standard adjustments as before. And again, you can go for black and white for this one as well, if you want to apply black and white to that. And you can vary it in all kinds of different ways. So that's a quick run through of that. Hope you found this of interest. Always any new tutorials about Photoshop, Illustrator, Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, Affinity Publisher, Rebel, Critter, and GIMP, and many others. Also, please add some comments. What sort of things would you like to see? What sort of things I've not explained particularly well? What other areas would you like to be explained in terms of adjustments? Please let me know in the comments. Always appreciated. And I can, like I say, look at doing another video, maybe go through some of the points, maybe with more detail. So always please let me know. Also, a dislike or like. Thank you much.